Hi, I'm Eileen Bild. I'm with OTEL Talk, and I am really, really excited to have on my show today Belinda Farrell. Hi, Belinda.
Hi there, aloha.
Hi, aloha. Uh, she has such a diverse, wonderful background, and I want to share uh, the background with you, the listener and the viewer, before we get into talking about what she's doing now. So she's the author of Find Your Friggin Joy, and she's a graduate of the University of California, Berkeley. She is trained in multiple modalities. So she's trained in hypnotherapy, past life regression, NLP, Hawaiian chanting, and the ancient Hawaiian healing Huna. She's actually trained with Tony Robbins, who I think a lot of people are very familiar with him. And I find this amazing. And maybe we can talk a little bit about the next accomplishment. You completed 18 firewalks. I haven't even tried one yet. I can imagine 18. So we'll hopefully get to that at some point. At age 48, she collapsed with a herniated disc and spinal nerve damage. And the doctor said if she didn't have surgery, she would be paralyzed. But Belinda had other ideas, and she decided not to have surgery and instead to apply the ancient Hawaiian healing practices. And so her back completely healed, and including her childhood scoliosis, which I just find amazing. And we'll talk about that as well, because that's like a miracle. For 15 years, she's been sharing the healing practices that we'll be talking about today. She offers the Reconnective Healing and Huna classes. And if anybody loves dolphins, she takes people to Hawaii to be trained in Huna and to swim with the dolphins. So I'm going to be on board for that one. And actually, my daughter's living in Hawaii right now. So I was thinking, okay, can I maybe connect with a trip to Hawaii to visit my daughter and then have some training with you and swim with the dolphins?
Is she on the Big Island?
Her husband's in the Navy, so whichever island. I think she's on Oahu. Yes, yes. So she's very lucky to be out there.
I should say so.
Yeah. So tell us about your healing and what that was all about and how that brought you to what you're doing today.
Well, I think everything is synchronistic. You know, we just kind of follow some kind of guidance that takes us along the path. I mean, all my life I've been making decisions that led me to just being right here. And when I first went to Hawaii, I would be the least one to want to go to an island because I hated water. I was afraid of water. I couldn't swim, but yet I had to go to Hawaii to do this master course in hypnosis. And sure enough, we start doing these exercises, and I start doing this Ha breathing, which is outlined in the book and also on my CDs. And it's a deep breath to the top of your head, like you're filling a glass of water up here. And after you do this deep breathing, conscious breathing, the unconscious opens up, you know, kind of a box that's inside of you and releases things for you to have closure. And at the same time, you're inviting the higher part of you, the higher self, to come down inside of you. And that's what it did. It just kind of came down in the form of dolphins and whales.
Oh, wow. I love that.
I remember laying on the floor and looking up and going, where did they come from? But it was this feeling of connection and this feeling of love and joy. And I wasn't afraid. And that night is when the dolphins started coming into my dreams and teaching me how to swim. And so I would wake up in the morning and I'd have this yearning to want to be out there with them, but I'd have to get over the fear of the water. Right. So it was hard. You know, I want to be with them, but no, I don't want to go in the water. So a friend had just, he and his wife had just made the transition to go to the Big Island to help Joan Ocean with some of her dolphin seminars. And he took me out on my first adventure out past the waves and to meet with the dolphins. And I heard them, and this amazing bottlenose dolphin came, like right in your face and just looking at you, and you could feel all this information just kind of downloading into your body. And I wasn't afraid. I just wasn't afraid. I wanted to come back over and over again till finally I was comfortable in that nurturing water, which was, almost 80 degrees. So it was warm, salty, so it holds you up. And I started to take people in groups. And I did that for 10 years to meet with the wild spinner dolphins. They would come. I'd do some chanting and they would come.
Oh,
And they
wow.
teach you how to be totally unconditionally loved. It's amazing. This is the first year I haven't gone because of what's going on
Right.
on the outside. But it is, if you can do it, I recommend it. It's the highest form of just celebration of who you are as a human being, relating to these animals that I believe are really sacred. They're sacred beings. They know more than we do because they know how to get along. When one dolphin decides to lead, everybody follows. Nobody fights for supremacy. It's just kind of a law of nature. You see a flock of birds and they're all following one. They're not fighting to get to the first one. It's a synchronicity.
It's almost like a unification
Yeah,
and a way to let go, just let go and be.
right.
Dolphin energy is very powerful.
Well, you'll fall in love is what you'll do. Even if you don't know the person next to you, you will love that person and just want to be with them because you're
Oh,
in this like synchronized soup of love. It sounds corny, but that's what happens. You're playful, you're just like a little kid again, and the dolphins want to play. You throw a leaf down and they try to catch it ahead of you, and they spin out of the water. And I mean, it's really a celebration.
so it's almost like they remind you what it's like to be joyful
Totally.
and to just have happiness in the moment and remember what it's like to be a child again, and that wonder.
Since I don't have dolphins here, I have hummingbirds. And
Okay.
I feed the hummingbirds in front of my kitchen window, and they come and they fight with one another for who's going to get the best
Oh,
seat. But yet they remind me in the same way of that joyful being, of that spinning. And we talk. Sometimes I go out and I feed them, and they're right in front of me, just talking to me. And
oh.
they'll sit there and eat, and I could put my hand out, if I wanted to. They're just amazing. So they're my substitute for no dolphins here.
Well, it's good you have that substitute, and then at some point you will be able to find your way back to the dolphins.
I
And
hope so. Yeah.
yeah, I'm sure you miss it. So let's go back in time a little to when you had that collapse and what that experience was like when you said no to surgery and decided to go the path that you put yourself on.
Well, I've always been kind of an adrenaline junkie. So, I mean, that's my fault. I have to give myself 100% responsibility. And I didn't see the signs that were coming when I started to get pain going down the side of my leg, my left leg. And so I'd go to the gym and I'd work out harder, thinking, I've got to just get the kink out. Or I do yoga, or I do something else to push myself instead of just resting and listening. And then I remember the day that it happened. I came home. I tried to walk, and my whole body collapsed underneath me. It wouldn't support me. I couldn't stand. My son lifted me up and put me to bed, and I was confined to bed for a month. The doctors, that's when I was taken in to have an MRI, and they said, "You're not going to walk again unless we have surgery."
Wow.
And I had been dropped because I was a stunt driver too.
Hmm.
So I was doing all these jobs, but they required, full throttle physical, activity. And I didn't have it at the time, so I got dropped. And that was really just scary because I had no money for surgery. I had no money to go to the hospital. So I thought, okay, all these 3 years I've been studying the Hawaiian healing, the Huna. Let's see if this works. I have to admit I would help other people, but physician, help thyself.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to heal yourself. So I started just 24/7 changing my thoughts because I realized what I had been saying to myself was that you can't be supported.
Mm.
I got it from my family who had gone through the Depression, and they had gone through a lot of lack of abundance. And so they were always in scarcity mode. And so you just pick these things up unconsciously. And I thought, okay, I need somebody to help me, support me. I can't support myself. I can't stand up for myself. And so when you're saying that, your unconscious mind is running your body. So your spine, which is listening to that, collapses. You told it to, because it can't support you anymore. How interesting, right? Really? So
Exactly.
I had to change my thoughts, and I had to begin to say, thank you for remembering to support me. Thank you. It's a computer. So it changes like a robot, goes, thank you for supporting me. Okay. And it starts to listen to that, and you start to get a little bit better. And I started to look at a tree and how the tree was just so strong, the trunk of the tree, that was my back. And I said, thank you for remembering to regenerate. Regenerate became the key word that I used. I would touch my back and I'd just say, thank you for regenerating. And doing the ha breathing so that the memories could come up. And the memories did come up. And then I talked about one of them on page 109 of my book. And I'll never forget that. We hide these things because we don't have time to think about the pain that they might have caused. And this was a memory of when I was a fetus in my mother's womb.
Wow.
And she did not want to have this child. It was a mistake. I was a mistake. Neither here nor there. But anyway, the fetus, the moment that I realized that this memory had come up, was this little baby or fetus all alone in the universe, just being thrown out amid all these craters and stones and asteroids. And this baby was like, just all curled up, avoiding all the pain and the thrust of these, amazing boulders, and just trying to survive. And she just felt like she had been thrown out like a piece of garbage. And then suddenly, after all that, these hands come down and lift the baby up and put her in the arms of this divine being who was way up on this tall precipice, looking down at all the chaos below. And I remember at that moment, I just felt loved. I felt safe. I felt accepted. Those were the hands of God, or they were the hands of some divine being. To this day, when I see hands, just hands, I go into this, oh, thank you for saving me. And
Yeah, well, it sounds like it was a process for you of deep soul, spiritual healing that through your thinking, you were able to shift out of one paradigm and taking yourself into another paradigm, seeing the world through different eyes, seeing the world through a different perspective of possibility and hope and love, like the unconditional love.
well, I remember calling my mother and I'm saying, what about my birth have you not talked to me about? And she had finally admitted that she and my father had taken me to 3 abortion clinics
Mm.
to get me aborted. And they just weren't able to do it. But the baby, the fetus, registers this, feeling of not being wanted, of being
Right.
thrown away. So that's what came from that. And I just really relaxed and thought, okay, I have somebody even greater loving me than my physical family. So it was an aha moment. Aha.
I gotta love those aha moments, because that's when you feel like, it's like, whoa, you really wake up and see things for what they really are. And
But then the healing really began after that. And I started to acknowledge the fact that I could climb trees again, and I'd see myself scampering up these trees, and you have to have a strong back to do that. So that's what you have to feed the unconscious mind, not just say, oh, I hope I heal, because that's out of fear. But when you see yourself and feel yourself climbing trees, you already know that that's what the end result is going to be. And the unconscious does that. It's, oh, we're going to climb trees. Yay, yippee.
okay.
So it sends that message up this pipeline all the way up to this higher self, because now that memory has been thwarted. It's been erased. It's like Roto-Rooter came in and said, we're cleaning this out. The pipeline is now free to get your real desire up there, and there's nothing blocking. And then
So
within days, I walked out of the bed. I sat straight up. I went to see the doctor. They couldn't believe that my spine had healed completely. I mean, it was a miracle.
it was a miracle, absolutely. So at that point, you realized there was something special and unique about that healing process you went through. And is that when you decided you wanted to help others and went into the further training? And
Oh, yeah.
ultimately, your primary training is the Ho'oponopono. Did I say that right? I think I missed a po.
It's okay. Uh-oh. It's like a uh-oh, and then pono pono. Yeah, I just felt like I had been given the keys to the kingdom, because I
Right.
thought, if I can heal myself like this, I shouldn't be afraid of anything. Because when you're anxious, you're living in fear,
Right.
and and or depressed, I guess. I think it's some very famous philosopher said, if you're depressed, you're living in the past. If you're anxious, you're living in the future. And when you're at peace, you're right there in the present.
Yeah. Well, and what you achieved is liberating. Gives you a sense of freedom to um, not be hindered by the fear and the anxiety. So tell me a little bit more about the
Uh-oh.
Ho'oponopono. I think I said it right.
The reason I love Huna so much, which means secret, is that it's a self-healing process. I mean, I actually got a chance to heal myself together with my higher self. And Ho'oponopono, that's one of the key elements, because you forgive yourself for the way you're looking at the past. And these cords are the thought patterns that you're holding inside your body, and they create things that can interfere with your organs and create, like for me, severe back pain, could created a tumor, could have done a lot of things. Our thoughts are creating this stuff. So when you forgive yourself, when you say to yourself, I'm sorry, and I did this 24/7, when the thoughts would come up, I say, I'm sorry, I love you, I forgive you, thank you. The person you're forgiving is yourself. So if you just imagine that maybe you're up on a platform and you're looking down on a stage inside, you have a film camera inside, and that's how you see out into the world. You see through your eyes. If you see it out there, then you have to have it in here.
It
So
is a
if you see,
reflection. Yes.
yeah, if you see hatred out there, then you have to clear the hatred that's inside of you, as with anger, as with anything. And those 4 phrases are the magical bullet points for doing that. It's like a cosmic eraser.
Oh, I like that. Cosmic eraser. I haven't heard that before. I like that. So you said you practiced it 24/7. For how long? Like months, weeks, years?
I was in bed for a month.
And it only took a month of saying it over and over every day for just 30 days?
Every
Wow,
day, every
that's
night.
powerful.
I mean, I wrapped myself up in a green cloth, which green is the color of healing. I had the crystals. I just worked on seeing my back, seeing me climb trees, releasing all of the dark stuff that I had been holding back. When you do that ha breathing, it gives permission to your unconscious mind, which is guiding you to hold on to that until you get the wherewithal to deal with those issues. It'll only let go of whatever you can deal with. And if you can't, it'll still keep holding it, and he'll think, it'll say, well, gee, I wonder if Eileen can handle this today. And out comes something from the box, and you either decide to handle it or to stuff it back down.
Mm.
And that's where our addictions come in, cookies and candy. And
A lot of people, chocolate? Is chocolate considered addiction?
I have to have it every single day.
So is there like a CD or meditation or something where someone can learn the Huna breath on their own?
Yes, I have. I say this because Huna's been my life for the last 25, 30 years. My very first audio tape, DVD now, and MP3 is called Chant and Forgiveness. So it takes you through the forgiveness process, and you hear the breath, and you can go through the forgiveness process on your own. Then there's another CD that's called Enchantment, and there's 10 minutes there of ha breathing. There's an 8-page booklet with this DVD, CD. And so it guides you through that connection with your higher self. So if you want to do it, it's there. The stuff is there for you to learn. And I just gobbled it up because I knew that this was the key to doing self-healing.
Well, it felt like for you, this was what you were guided, that you felt you were ready to heal. You did not want to stay in that space that your back had crippled you to. And so you were motivated, and I'm sure there's a lot of people motivated now who want to heal and who want to use natural remedies such as breath work and visualization. So I think it's great what you do. Before we close out, I want to talk a little bit about the firewalking, and then we'll talk about where people can find out more about you, about the Ho'oponopono, and I said it. I think I said it right, and the CDs that she has. So tell me about your firewalking. What was that all about?
Well, I had gotten a divorce when I turned 40. And I was just looking for adventures. And I had gone to a church, kind of a religious science church, and the minister there had done a firewalk. I'd never heard of that before, but it sounded scary and intriguing. And so I had never heard of Tony Robbins, but when he came into town, I decided I would take an adventure and go do it. And what it is, it's a metaphor for what you're capable of doing in your life. Like if you can walk successfully on 2,000 degrees of hot coals, then you ask yourself, what else can I do that I haven't done? And that's really what it did. That's what got me to get into stunt driving. I said, well, I would really like to drive a race car. I can't do that. And then he teaches you, yes, you can. You say you can't, you must. If you must, you will. So I called the racetrack and, got an appointment in there and took a 4-day Grand Prix road racing course. And at the end of that course, they said I had some talent and they offered me a job.
That's awesome.
driving for Cadillac and Buick, and every day just looking at beautiful scenery and doing what I love, just parking those cars in exactly the spot the director wanted. So when I came back home, the racetrack sponsored me to learn more about stunt driving. So I had to learn how to spin and slide and do all kinds of terrorist driving, and it was exciting. I had a team. I joined a team in LA and had a partner, and we just went all over the country doing car commercials.
Wow. And now you're doing healing work. That's an interesting transition. But I guess, the motivation of stepping into something unfamiliar and scary and realizing you can do it helped you with the process of where you are now and helping others.
Well, a lot of people in my time, I mean, I'm in my 70s now, but during those olden days, we were told what to do and we did it. I was raised in a Catholic environment, and I remember the nuns calling my mother and saying, "Your little girl is too joyful."
Oh,
I was
no.
accused of being too joyful, that I needed to suffer a little more. And I just wouldn't buy into that. I eventually left Catholic school or got kicked out in 8th grade and went to a normal high school where I could grow and develop and feel free to just be myself. I mean, everyone really has to be themselves.
Right.
We just, especially now, we have such a transparency, and it's exciting that, little girls grow up and see all the possibilities that they have. We didn't have that then. You had to create that on your own.
And then, and then life is where the impossible can become possible. And then when you put your mind to something, it can be achievable. And I mean, you're proof of that. So, yeah. So,
it's now. I mean, just getting older doesn't mean you stop.
Not at all. No, you can go till forever almost. I just read there's 2 ladies that are 120. They're twins. 120. I know. And they were still outside, like tilling, the garden or whatever. Yeah, I thought, okay, if they can live to 120, then there's no reason we can't do the same thing and still be viable and vibrant and successful.
Where do they live? Are they in France?
No, I think it was like either Africa, Nigeria, somewhere over there in one of those countries. Yeah, it was like inspiring, right? Because I don't believe that just because we get older, we have to fall apart. I believe that.
Well, when you see people getting older and dying, then you follow suit. So you have to just not believe that you're going to be in that, that track, or you're just going to have a really happy, fulfilling life full of joy. Because remember, you have a laboratory inside your body, and it's up to you to feed it with whatever it is that's going to create something to grow. I mean, I heard Deepak Chopra giving a lecture and talking about interleukin-2 that you make in your body. When you're happy and when you're just ecstatic, you create this drug called interleukin-2, which if you bought it from a pharmaceutical company is $20,000 a pop.
Holy cow.
To cure certain types of cancer. But your body makes this millions of dollars of interleukin-2 when you take a ride at Disneyland, or you're just excited about something and just happy. You also create Valium, when you go into a peaceful state. So if you can remember this, also if you are angry, your body will create, a chemical that will bruise your heart muscle. So that's one of the leading causes of death in this country is heart attacks, anger.
So there's actually scientific proof that if you are in a chronic state of anger, your heart can get bruised. Yes. I've never heard that before. That's scary. I mean, that would make me not want to be angry at all.
Well, you want to not hold it. You want to let it go. If you
Right.
have some anger, you want to feel it, get the learnings from it, and let it go.
Well, I can see how that can constrict the muscles in the heart. And I guess that's where the broken heart syndrome comes from, where, the heart actually becomes broken, so to speak, because of that chronic state that creates that chemical that bruises the heart.
Just think of everything. Grief, too much sadness can hurt the lungs. If you feel guilty about something, the unconscious mind thinks it's done something wrong, so it will invent a disease to give to you.
Mm.
It's
Yeah,
created by you and your ego,
right. And I think a lot of people don't understand that body-mind connection. And again, you're a perfect, wonderful example of the science behind the reality of change your thinking, change your life, change your body systems, mechanisms, and we can heal from the inside out.
Right. One of my favorite people is a Dr. Bruce Lipton,
Mm-hmm.
and he wrote a book called The Biology of Belief.
Yes, I have that.
Huge proponent of this, and he had to evacuate from the fires here in Santa Cruz. So praying for everybody that they can go back home safely.
That would be good. Yes. Are you aware of the map of consciousness?
The map of consciousness?
Yes.
Who is that?
So that's like level. It's the levels that our emotions go up. So the neutral is, of course, in the middle, and then everything underneath are those lower vibrational thoughts, such as anger and frustration, jealousy. And then when you start to release those and transform those into the better thinking, then vibrationally and energetically, it goes along with what you've been saying about when you think the positive thoughts, your body's going to respond better to that than the negative. So above the neutral would be love and affection and compassion. So you can check it out, Map of Consciousness. It's I use it a lot with my clients, and it's very powerful. I'm very much a proponent of if something doesn't feel good. So if you have a thought, if you have a feeling, if you have an emotion, think of what the opposite is. Acknowledge and then release the negative one, and always replace it with whatever the opposite is, whatever that opposite for you is, for what you can connect to and relate to, and then take ownership of that. And that that moves people up the chain of consciousness. So then their foundation of their thinking and connecting with the world is at a higher level, that keeps them from going into a state of chronic pain, tension, headaches, depression, all of that.
All that bad juju.
The bad juju, yeah. I like to say, let's go to the positive mojo. Raise up. So tell me where people can find you, your website, where they can find your CDs, and information about the Ho'oponopono. And when things settle down and you're able to start doing your dolphin trips, where they'll be able to find that.
Okay. My website is Huna Healing, HUNA healing.com. And that has my email address and telephone number where to get in touch with me. You can get the CDs and the MP3s from the website or Amazon or iTunes. So the book is available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble.
Okay, and I will be putting that information at the end of the interview for everybody. And
Find Your Friggin Joy.
say that again.
To find your friggin' joy.
Find your friggin' joy, right? Yes. Well, thank you so much, Belinda. This was awesome, and I appreciate you taking the time out today for me to have this chat with you. And we will catch up again very soon.
It was very fun. Thank you.
Okay.
Aloha.
Aloha.